Assalamu alaikum to some of you and peace to the rest of you. This is Black again, coming at you about 9 to 8 months after my last mention of Shadeed Muhammad and the refutations of him. And I said in that year that I was not prepared to defend anything that Shadeed Muhammad might have said that would vilify the Sahaba. Since then, it has come out, even though I'm just now learning this, it has come out that he apologized for the confusion and that the scholars are well aware of some of the minor details that were not concluded in the revelation, but they did not differ in any detail that was concluded in the revelation. And that this is to what he was referring, and he was not referring to them differing in anything that was conclusive. This is fair enough. I get it. Now, that being said, I am with Shadeed Muhammad in what he has been saying about Islam and African American culture, the problems that African Americans face, and the necessity of us as African Americans who have become Muslim of applying Islamic solutions that are not going to be explained to us by anybody from outside of the community, outside of our ethnic community. This is very true, and I want to make mention of something. If somebody knows about Shadeed Muhammad saying that the Sahaba differed on Aqidah, but they don't know what he was talking about, what the scholars are well aware of, and his apology for the confusion, then I understand why they would refute him. They don't know that he's cleared it up. Now, if somebody is refuting him after this and they know about it, in other words, if you know what I've said and you go and check it out and find out about it, you still want to refute him, it is only because he is dealing with black issues while being Muslim and calling out non-black folks for being willing to vilify black folks but not confront white supremacy from which black people's issues spring. That's really what it boils down to. And as an African American, I'm highly offended by that. It is very true. Some people wrote refutations of the NOI. Fine, yes, but why? You see, Shadeed Muhammad pointed out a phenomena that I have seen with my own two eyes in the exact same nation, in Saudi Arabia. What is this phenomena? Simply put, when you confront white supremacy and you confront anti-blackness to any degree, people will say things that are true for the wrong reasons. There's no racism in Islam. That's true, but that's not why they're saying it. Bilal was black. That's true, but that's not why they're saying it. Let's say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in his final sermon that one is not better than the other except by taqwa. That is true, but that's not why they're saying it. They're saying it so that you don't correct them with the righteous indignation that is deserved in this case for calling black people slaves or calling black people uglier than everybody else. These two are bad enough. Why they're differentiated forms of treatment, specifically reserved for black people. These are valid reasons for black people to become highly angry and even aggressive. Let's call it what it is. I have heard and seen with my own two eyes the anti-blackness here, the people don't even know they have, and the white supremacist ideas they don't know they have. I've talked with people who are intelligent and they have said, no, racism is embedded in the culture. We'll never get rid of it. And it'll always be to the detriment of black people and to the flattery of white people. It'll always be that way because that's how we Arabs are. I've heard them tell me this. And then I've heard others who weren't well as aware of this say things that were anti-black or pro-white and pro-white supremacists and refuse to take correction for it and wonder why I had the nerve to get angry and call them out and say, you bun of a sitch. They can't tolerate that. And I've gotten sick and tired of the things that they say. And I've said to them multiple times before, you are not my equal until you can fix this, until you can change who you are and what you say and why you say it. You and I are not equals. I am better than you. Now, that's not something they're ready to hear, but it's true. When you start talking, You start listening to these folks and what they say. They're not ready for this. But the fact of the matter is exactly that. So, that being said, I'll say to the Muslims that are not black, last summer, I said that if I catch a non-black Salafi man with a black woman, we're fighting. Because I've heard the things that non-black Muslims say about black people, especially about the sexuality of black women. Praising this perceived hypersexuality, but not praising and rather insulting the appearance itself. Oh, they're not beautiful, but they're just good for a good F in the sack. I've had since then, not before, which I already mentioned, but since then, I've had more Arabs tell me this view of black women, that they have it. Since I recorded that, taxi drivers here have began to harass my Western female colleagues, especially the black ones, mostly the black ones, to the point that I had to tell some drivers, listen, tell your colleagues and tell your friends, let them know that if any one of my black female colleagues gets harassed one more time, I'm fighting that guy. And if that guy reports me to the police for beating him up, then I'll kill him. I will not tolerate any more disrespect of my female, mostly my black female colleagues. No more of that, because I've heard what they've said. This is how bad it got. And this is after and before I've heard other Arabs say these things about black women to the detriment of black women. I mean, it got to a point with one guy, I had to insult Arab women to make him understand what the hell he sounded like telling me this. That's how bad it gets. So you see, the longer I stay here, the more experience I get, and the more this experience justifies and proves correct everything Shadid Muhammad has said, and everything Tahir Wyatt has said. Newsflash to you who are not black. We know that the NOI, what they call the Nation of Islam, is actually the nothing of Islam. It is not a Muslim organization. Their religion is different. But see, we black folks already know that. We've been through this before. My question is, do you niggas know this? Do you understand that you're not allowed to prefer the Christians over the Muslims? We know that, but do you know this? Because that's exactly what we see happening. Christians come from wealthy, powerful, white nations, and they're treated better than Muslims coming with brown or black skin from Bangladesh or from tropical Africa, poor nations. Really, truly, yes, this happens. Now, Saudi Arabia's relationship with South Africa is pretty nice. But was South Africa always black governed? No, it was not. I've had people from South Africa tell me they've been here for 2 decades. 2 decades and 4 years ago was about the time that the apartheid government completely crumbled. Why was Saudi accepting white South African citizens? Well, let me tell you this. I don't want to take a long time with this. But I want to say that if you are going to continue to try to refute Shadid Muhammad or Tahir Wyatt after Shadid Muhammad has repented, and I don't know Tahir Wyatt that well in this case, but if you're going to refute them and they're not saying things that take them out of the fold of Islam, and all they're doing is dealing with black issues when you don't like it, then you're only refuting them for dealing with black issues. You Muslims who are not black, mostly those of you who are Arab or Pakistani, with the exceptions I've seen of the Sudanese and the Jordanians, they've been accepted from this. I haven't seen them do this, but with other Arabs and with Pakistanis and Indians to a certain extent, what I have seen is this expectation that when an African American or an African accepts Islam, that they're going to then wear your clothing and eat your food and take on your customs and your mores and become a little black copy of one of you, culturally speaking, even though even though they can't integrate their DNA into your community, because you won't have black grandchildren, black nieces and nephews. No, they're not going to be marrying into your community, but you're expecting them to become little carbon copies of you. Where the hell did you all get this idea from? This is an insult. I've seen it myself. Yes, I became Muslim. I became Muslim 12 years before I came to this country. To this day, there are these assumptions of ignorance on my part. Like, I don't know anything at all. Like, really, dude? No, I know stuff you don't know. You know stuff I don't know, and I know things you don't know. But instead of trying to learn, you always trying to teach me basic stuff I already know. And then when I tell you something you didn't know, you want to try to debate and cast doubt on it. No. I know that as a Muslim, you're not allowed to side with white supremacists over darker victims. Not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to even normalize white supremacist societies. What happens? They normalize them by taking on the same ideas. I tell them they're not allowed to. Well, black and white really don't matter. Well, if that's the case, then why do you always count yourselves as white when white people don't count you as white? And why do you always say things detrimental to black people based on the appearance of black people at the bare minimum? Why do you do this? Why do you always come and ask us, can we help you marry an American woman? And you always mean a white American woman, knowing doggone well that they don't accept Islam hardly ever. They can, but they rarely do. What's wrong with you? How stupid can you be? You see, last year I said that I was going to jump any Salafi non-black man I caught with a black woman. I beat the smack out of him. And no, I wasn't going to jump on any black man I saw with a non-black woman. Why? Because one offends white supremacy, the other one does not. I said this last summer, the end of last summer. I can't repent for what I said. I said it for a certain reason. Since that time, all of my experiences have justified me saying it in the first damn place. And all of my experiences have justified everything that Shadeed Muhammad has been saying. My experiences before I knew his name and knew who he was, and my experiences since then, when I recorded the last things I recorded in which I mentioned his name. You, the Salafi Muslims that are not black, caused this problem. And you, the Salafi Muslims that are black, you perpetuated it by accepting this stuff. No more. When I had to divorce a North African woman, Muslima, Salafia, and I had to divorce her, it was because of white supremacy and her acceptance of it. And her acceptance of a black inferiority complex. This was a black woman. And I had to divorce her. Guess who told me I was too harsh? Every goddamn body that was Salafi. Now, every non-Salafi understood when I told them the story. They got it. They understood. When I told all the Salafis, even the black ones, they said, I think you were too harsh on her. The hell you mean I was too harsh on her? If she had left me because I refused to care if my pants are above my ankles or below my ankles, because I buy them pre-made anyway, and I don't get them tailored because it's too much money, she still would have been considered valid by you for leaving me. Well, his pants ain't above his ankles. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. He doesn't really care. Oh, okay, sister, I understand it. Well, he never wore a kameez or a thobe. He never wore one in front of me, except at home. He never wore it out in public. Oh, I see, sister. Okay, all right. But then I left her not because of the first time that I found out, but when she refused to fix it and she requested a divorce from me, every single one of them said that I was too harsh, even though I only gave her the divorce after she requested it because she refused to continue trying to fix this illness in her head in the first place. Double standards. That's hypocrisy. But in all honesty, I asked some of them, if I hated white people and never could consider them equals, Muslim or not, and she divorced me for that, would that have been too harsh? Some of them hung their heads. Some were silent. Not one of them could say no, it would not have been too harsh. That's the difference right there. That right there shows the double standard, even on the part of the black Salafis. I have been looking for somebody who would run from kufr and innovation, that would also confront this issue. And right now, the only one I found doing that is Shadid Muhammad. Maybe Osama al-Dhahabi Aiden. Maybe he's also doing that. I heard him do it once. Not with the same militancy as Shadid, but I heard him do it once. I don't know about Tawhid Wyatt yet. I don't hear much of what he says. But I'm going to be honest with you. These are the only ones I found doing this, and you all are calling them deviants. If you don't fix yourselves and correct this subconscious white supremacy you got in your minds and that you don't know you have, may Allah curse you. If you try to fix it, may Allah help you. I'm on your side if you're trying to confront it. We've all been brainwashed. I don't fault you because you got brainwashed. I fault you because you accepted Islam, specifically Salafi, lock, stock, and barrel, but you did not try to fix this thing. That's why I start to fall out with people. They just take for granted this white supremacy and these ideas are right. And that they're not racist because they don't actually walk around with a hatred for black people. No, that's not it. You see, oftentimes, many forms of discrimination come without any hatred. So the discriminator doesn't think he's discriminating. I don't marry white women. But see, I know that I don't do it. And I know why I don't do it. I'm conditioned not to. Self-defense. I feel like I'm in a vulnerable position if I do that. What is the reason? I'm not doing that because I'm a racist. And if I was, so goddamn what? Whose fault would that be? Mine or the white civilization's fault? But see, the Muslims have led the world in blaming black people for not liking whites when we really don't have to outside of the Muslim religion. And also have led the world in not blaming white folks for their part in the people who do hate them or dislike them. It's been the Muslims and it's been mostly the Salafis. You refuted Umar Suleiman, but he was confronting this issue. You refuted Noman Ali Khan, but he kind of lukewarmly confronted this issue. You refuted all of them. Shadid Muhammad makes you angrier than the other guys because you don't have any grounds to continue refuting him anymore. Osama al-Dhahabi and Tawhid Wyatt, from what I understand, you don't have any grounds to refute them anymore. But they confront this issue, so they make you even angrier. I've noticed this. This means that at a subconscious level, you're a white supremacist. You just don't know that you are. That's why I said subconscious. But you don't even want to confront this and get this out of your system. It's too embedded. You should be thankful for these guys because you have Salafis now finally doing exactly what the hell we've been needing Salafis to do all this time, confronting white supremacy and addressing the issues of victimized communities, specifically the black community, the one that everybody else has been trained to look down on, that's even been trained to look down on itself. Now, you're not going to confront this by telling black people what to do any differently. No, screw that. If we went on a genocide and got rid of everybody lighter skinned than us, you would still be partially to blame along with us. And I'm not advocating that we do it. I'm simply saying that if we did, we would not be the only ones to blame. Everybody would be guilty for this if that was the case. But I am going to say that what you can do is you can go back to your communities and you can tell them, why are you using skin bleach? The hell is wrong with you bleaching yourself like that? There's nothing wrong with the color God gave you, so why are you bleaching yourself? Especially in climates like the ones we live in. Oh, what, so you can look more like the people that colonized us? No. So what if you look African? That's better than looking like someone that colonized. Why would you do this and then make yourself look like the colonizer, oppressor, instead of somebody else? Why would you do that? You see, the Muslims should be leading the campaign against things like skin bleach and nose jobs, but you're not. You're the ones who say the least against these things. And this is what the last thing I wanted to tell you all. When we Muslims do not confront unrighteousness and injustice, guess what happens? We let the non-Muslims supersede us in these things and become more attractive in their movements than we could ever be. If we are confronting the greatest injustice, which is shirk, then we should make it clear that we are including in this the other injustices. This could then make our dawah more attractive. I'm sorry, you can't offer people the same problems with more responsibilities and think that you're going to win them over to that message. You can't do it. People can't even believe that that's the truth. Oh, I'm supposed to suffer more than what I've been suffering by adding on more responsibilities, i.e. Islam, but no solutions to the problems? That can't possibly be true. Human beings aren't capable of believing that. If that was the truth, and that was the condition for our salvation, guess what? People would not be capable of being saved. So you can hang that mess up. You're going to have to explain to the people that this true religion actually has preventions for your problems and solutions. Sometimes a prevention, sometimes a solution, sometimes both, but these things are there. You catch HIV, well, there's no cure, but there's a prevention so that other people don't have to catch it. If you accept, then the prevention is from you spreading it. At the very least, there's that. Usually it's a lot better than something like that. Usually it's much better. But we're not explaining this. We're simply saying Tawheed, 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 Tawheed. And throwing all these Arabic terms around to non-Arabic speakers. No, that's it. We don't need that. We're going to have to get rid of this and fix this. I hope this message has been of benefit. Assalamu alaikum.